Hey everybody, I had some questions come in, about retiring abroad, retiring outside the United States. And funny thing is, we actually recently had a client go on vacation and call us and say, we're not coming back. We're putting our house on the market and selling it. And they're going to live Portugal and Spain and, just gallivant around the world. We have some other clients that actually are just planning 3 months at a time. They rented out. They have three houses, rented them all out, and they're out. Enjoying life as well. And so it becomes more and more appealing, especially when you look at some of the cost of living in other countries. There are some things. I was just in Portugal and last year, and everything was cheaper except gas. Gas was about $8 a gallon there. But I could go eat meals at restaurants cheaper than I could by going to the grocery store and making it at home. It was interesting. And the street vendors were selling stuff from Paris, not from China. My wife really enjoyed that part of it. So living abroad becomes more and more appealing the more you travel and get comfortable out there. So a few things that we have to consider when it comes to traveling abroad and deciding to live and stay in some of these countries. And the first thing is residency. How are we going to be allowed to stay in these countries? Believe it or not, you can't just go show up in a country and just stay as long as you want. You have to worry about visas. And so there are several countries I have listed here that do actually have a formal process for a retirement visa. And it comes with some restrictions and some requirements. Income requirements is one of the main requirements. And so what you see next to the country name is the income that you have to prove you have coming in. Dubai has to have $5,500 a month coming in. Well, I'll be honest, you're not going to survive on $5,500 a month in Dubai. It's very expensive there. But places like Argentina, you just have to show you have $500 a month coming in. A little bit easier to show that, especially if you are collecting your Social Security. Programs range from durations from 1 year to 5 years. So just know that they'll put some time limits on this, and you have to have that evidence of financial security, income that's coming in, savings, things like that. They'd be happy to have you in their country spending money, right? That's the concept of it. At some point, you might realize you want citizenship, and there are really four main ways that we see out there to get citizenship. And I have the countries that are the easier ways, the less timely ways, right? So ancestry is one of them. There are several countries, especially the European Union, that will allow you, if you show you have descendants, typically 1, 2, 3 generations back that were citizens of those countries. It's not always simple. Just understand that they do have a formal process for this. And I don't think immigration is simple really anywhere. But if you're trying to become a citizen there and you have relatives that are Croatian or from Denmark or Estonia or wherever, anybody on that list, that may be your way to get a foothold in and become a citizen. And you can be a dual citizen. You don't have to renounce your United States citizenship. And you really don't want to, because you will lose your Social Security if you renounce your citizenship. Time and naturalization, well, that's the never-ending process of just doing all the paperwork, and you have to live here for 5 years. You have to, some or more. You have to speak the language. You have to take tests. There's a whole bunch of stuff you'll have to jump through. Flexibility. Well, look, this is a broad category of, well, go have a baby in that country and they'll let you become a citizen. They have a whole bunch of weird little miscellaneous ones. If you have a trade, if you're in your working years and you're a really good engineer and this country needs engineers, that might be your loophole in. But then the other one, I only put the list that are the two that are pretty relevant, is by investment. And one of the big things is Portugal. Portugal is really putting it out there that if you buy a house, I think it's over $500,000. If you spend over $500,000 on a house, you get a little golden ticket that says you're going to become a citizen. It's kind of cool. Some of these other countries, there is a cool one down at the bottom, Vanuatu. You donate 130,000 into their investment fund, and it's a cool little tropical island, and you can become a citizen. But the cool thing is with their passport, you have free access, unfettered free access to 96 countries, pretty much the whole European Union, and then a whole bunch of other countries. Some of them will put like a 6-month restriction or something like that, but unfettered access. You don't need visas, you don't need anything. You can go to any of the countries. So for 130 grand, you can buy a passport from Vanuatu and be a half citizen there and a half United States citizen. So investment programs, by investment, you see the long list on the side there. There are countries that just, hey, give us money and we'll let you in. All right. So taxes. That's another consideration we have to take in. All right. So taxes might be a deal breaker. The lucky thing is that the United States has treaties with a lot of countries. And so the list is a double list on the side here, everything from Australia to Vietnam. All right. So we've got tax treaties that try to avoid the double taxation. So anything that you're going to pay taxes on in one country, you don't have to pay taxes on the other country. So we do have to understand that certainly is helpful. Now, the other part of this, state tax, you have to call some state in the United States home and file taxes. So the best thing to do is find one of the states right in the middle here. There's 8 states that have no income tax: Alaska, Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, Wyoming. Might want to consider calling one of those home, get a P.O. box there, whatever. A friend, family, relative. That's how a lot of these people do it, is just a family or a friend or a relative. And you say, can I use your mailbox? And then you don't have to worry about filing a state tax return. So you'll just have the federal tax return while you're living abroad. You still have to pay taxes on your Social Security and any other income. You still have to file a tax return in the United States. And then in the other countries, the tax treaty will tell you how to deal with your taxation there, depending on your income. Okay. And in most of these countries, you won't really end up paying much, but you always want to look into it. You'll be surprised how much taxation is outside the United States. It might help you be okay with the taxes you pay here. We've seen tax rates outside the US, 40, 50, 60%. So keep an eye out for that. Always review the taxation in whatever country that you're going to go live in. Just traveling and enjoying yourself on a visa, you're not going to have any problems with any of that. But if you're going to start getting longer term visas and you're going to start getting citizenship, you really better know your taxation in that country and how that's going to work. Then there's Social Security. You've got to be careful with Social Security, believe it or not. Okay, there are some countries that if you're living in that country, they are not sending you your Social Security check. So one of the easy ways is to maintain your U.S. banking and money situation and try to handle it that way. If you don't think you're going to be gone for the rest of your life, maybe you still keep your ties in the U.S. in the U.S. banking system, and you just wire yourself money occasionally. But you see the list over here, Austria down to Uruguay. Those are all the countries on this list. You can collect your Social Security in that country, meaning you can have Social Security Administration send your Social Security check to a bank in that country, as opposed to having to try to deal with wiring money and all the other difficult things with sending money internationally. Okay. So there's a couple of things that you have to meet in terms of requirements to get your Social Security. And it's really sending it to one of those countries or a U.S. bank, right? And qualifying just like you would if you're living in the U.S. and retiring in the U.S. So those are the things you got to think about with Social Security. Make sure you're going to a country on this list if you expect to have that check, that direct deposit in a bank in Israel, you're fine. In a bank in Italy, you're fine. In a bank in most of the places you're going to want to go anyways, you're fine. Okay. But just know that honestly, I don't see Mexico on there, right? That's a popular place. We actually have clients living in Mexico, so their money goes into a U.S. bank account and they wire money to themselves occasionally. So it's not that you can't live in countries not on this list. It's more that they're not okay sending paychecks there. Healthcare. That's the other consideration. First of all, Medicare is not going to pay for your healthcare. Now, you'll look at it and say Medicare will, on a limited basis. No, that's traveling from the U.S. to Alaska. If you get caught in between and have an emergency, then Medicare may pay for it. Or there's a little chunk of U.S. real estate that is surrounded by water and bordered by Canada, and the closest hospital is in Canada, and they will pay for that. That's the only international coverage you have through Medicare, okay? So you have to understand that Medicare is not going to cover you outside the United States. So there are insurance coverages that you can get out there, and if that's something that you're going to want to look into, there's expat health insurance, and even in like Spain has very specific rules on everybody has to have X amount of insurance from a local company. So depending on the country you go to, you need to look into health insurance requirements, because it will be a part of the requirements for you to be in that country. They don't want to be left with the burden of paying your medical bills. Gee, does anybody want to have to pay for that burden? I don't think so. So they do have that on the books on most of the retirement visas and citizenship documents and stuff like that in most of these countries. So think about healthcare, how you're going to pay for healthcare, look into the insurance that you're going to have. Hopefully that's an overview of some of those big important things that you need to think through when looking to go abroad and live there, okay? If we can help in any way, we have a genuine enjoyment experience on this, not only from some of our clients, but it's a fun topic for us, and it is very interesting. Both Grayson and I own international real estate, and so we do have experience on that side. We have dual citizenship and things like that we deal with quite often. So always happy to help. Give us a call, shoot us an email, share this with people if they're talking about living abroad. And if we can help in any way, we're always here. Subscribe if you haven't. We got to get more subscribers. We got to keep this train rolling and keep adding videos every week. So keep coming back, and I'll see you on the next video next week.